YouTube, how's it going? Frogs Angels is back with the weekly updated power rankings. Yes, we're updating them every single week, every single Wednesday. And this video is my power rankings before week 3 kicks off. And last night, we had our week 3 predictions video. It was a good one. Check it out if you haven't already. We predict every game. Multiple guys, part of the channel, make their predictions. It was a fun one. You know, a little bit of slap happy. We record those pretty late, so it was a good one. We're back every Tuesday night uploading those prediction videos, and every Wednesday, like I said, updating my power rankings. A lot of changes for this week. New number 1, new number 2. A lot of changes. We'll maybe not the bottom part, slight changes, but we'll go over them. Start at the bottom, go to the top. There's your bottom 8s. The Bills remain at 32. It's a messy situation. Obviously, I don't really have to go too much on the Bills. It's going to take some time to rebuild the team. I don't really like the coaching staff. I mentioned that before. Now LaShawn McCoy's hurt. He could still play with the cracked ribs, but they got to go to Minnesota and play the Vikings this week. It's going to be rough. Going to be a rough one. And 31's the Cardinals. They're battling the Bills. You know, they can't put up points when they have playmakers. Bradford's good, but he needs a good offensive line to be good. It doesn't look like that's the case. You might as well go at Rosen. I don't think it's going to change big things. It's not going to make a big difference, but I would just go at Rosen, develop your quarterback, unless you think he's going to get killed. But you draft him in the first round for a reason. It's just a shame when you got guys like David Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, and you look on the other side, you got Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, all kinds of young talent, and you can't really get anything going. So, you know, they got more talent than a team like the Bills, but they're battling the Bills for that last spot. Seahawks are 30. Terrible game against the Bears, I thought. Russell Wilson and the offense coordinator are not on the same page. I think they got to let Russell Wilson do his thing, even though he played a bad game. One of the worst games I've seen him play in a long time, maybe ever. Stepping up in the pocket. You know, he does have a bad offensive line, bad weapons maybe, but he was stepping up in the pocket past his offensive lineman and just not expecting anyone behind him. It was weird, you know, and an interception was bad. So they're down at 30 because they're really struggling. They are missing a lot of guys. You know, Bobby Wagner didn't play. KJ Wright didn't play. So they're at 30 for now. The Lions stay at 29. They're not looking too good. At the end of the game against the Niners, they looked much better. We need to see them play like that. They're getting sacks, actually, on defense. But other than that, they're struggling. You know, they can't really stop the run. It's rough. Rough schedule, too. I mean, they got the Jets first. You would like to think they would have won that one, or they could have won that one. But they got to play the Patriots on Sunday night now. So it's a tough schedule. But they got to step it up. A tough division in the NFC North. 28's the Raiders. They had the game. They had it against the Broncos. Lost it at the end. They don't have a pass rush. You know, even with Clomac, they still probably be struggling on defense. Offense, you know, Derek Carr played pretty solid. I think they can do a little more. You know, the Broncos do have a pretty good defense, but the Raiders are struggling. You know, the offense is going to have to play very good football for them to win games. 27's the Browns. The Browns should be 2-0, but they still don't have a win. They got to figure it out. You know, they have the ability to be better than they are, and the future looks good. A lot of young talent, but they're at 27 for now. 26, the Giants. Man, I could have put them lower. I mean, looking on defense, I don't think there's anything positive about the defense, honestly, and that's the least of their worries. I think it's the offense. You know, they have 1 sack on defense. Coverage isn't that good. They did hold the Cowboys to, you know, not too many points, but that's a struggling offense over there with a beat-up offensive line. And the Giants' offensive side, Eli. I mean, we're getting what we expect from Eli. You know, so you can't really blame him too much. I don't like the play calling. Shermer's new head coach. He's calling plays. I think it's very conservative. I think it's just dump the ball off to the running back if you don't see anything. And that kind of, you know, I guess that's part Eli's fault too. But they can't block, mainly the right side of the line. Man, it's rough. They can't really get anything going on either side of the ball. I mean, defense has been terrible because they haven't let up too many points. But they played 2 teams that really don't score a lot of points so far this year, it looks like. Well, the Jags actually put up points on the Patriots, but they got to pick it up. The Jets down at 25 looked insane the first week on every stage of the game. And then we're disappointing this next week. So, you know, that's kind of more the Jets team we expected. You know, I didn't move them down too much, but they had to move down. You know, they're still in the rebuild process, still need some pieces. The defense has the ability to play pretty darn good. So I guess it's a team to watch out for still. We'll go on to the next 8 teams, and I'll explain them, obviously. 24 is the Redskins. Scoring 9 points against the Colts is unacceptable. Scoring 9 points is unacceptable in general. Not a good game. Couldn't get the running game going. I'm pretty sure Crowder led the team in rushing yards, and then the running back Thompson led the team in receiving yards. Unacceptable is really the best way to explain that. You still can't count them out. They got some good players. They're kind of desperate for receivers now, which they should have been before. They need some receivers going forward for the future. They're down at 24. We'll see what they do. They play the Packers this week. That could be rough. 23 is the Colts, and they beat the Redskins. Impressive outing for their defense. Young defense that's got a good future. I think the whole team's got a good future. Darius Leonard played out of his mind. I like Teray. A lot of good pieces. We'll see if they can continue to play at a high level. That's pretty impressive. So they're a pretty big riser. I kind of had them towards the bottom there. 22, the Texans. Maybe pretty high for a team with not a win and losing to Blaine Gabbert and Tennessee backups. They outplayed the Titans, but they lost. They're going to have their first home game this week. I'm still a believer, but at the same time, like I've been saying before the season even started, the offensive line's rough and that secondary is rough on the defense. They could get more pressure too. They didn't get enough pressure on the Titans' backup offensive line and on Titans' backup quarterback. They need more pressure, but the tackling in the secondary could be an issue. But I didn't drop them too much because it's still somewhat a believer, but there's some missing pieces that makes them not a contender. Before the season, they're labeled a playoff contender, understandable, but a Super Bowl contender, some people thought, and they need to fill some holes to be able to get there. Ravens 21, they dropped pretty good. I know it's only one loss, and it's tough to play away against a rival on Thursday night, so I understand it. But they were all out of whack, really. The defense lost energy. They lost speed early in that game, and that's unacceptable, really. But early in the season, they can figure it out. But for now, I dropped them down to 21. The Niners get a win, put up a good amount of points. Scary late. They let the Lions come back. But a lot of potential to grow during the season. Niners move up to 20. Cowboys, another team that moved up big time, too. Their defense is impressive. Who would have thought this would be a defensive team and not an offensive team? Once they're at full strength, maybe they get a receiver in there. The offense can start picking it up as the season goes on. Defense is playing well. I think they have 9 sacks on the season so far. That's second in the NFL. That as the season goes on, we start to see those teams that get sacked. They start get sacks. They start to play a little better. And the teams that maybe they're winning now, but they're struggling to get sacks. Those teams will start to lose some games because of that, because we understand, everybody knows now how important the pass rush is. The Cowboys have it right now. Let's see if they continue on with it. I just picked up their defense in fantasy for this week, so I'm liking what I'm seeing. They move up to 19. Offense does have to get it going, though. Steelers, big drop. I think I had them at around 8 last week because I was still a believer. I'm still a believer at the end of the season. I think they'll figure it out. They'll probably win their division still. But for now, power rankings, I got to drop them down to 18. Messy situation right now. Antonio Brown did just return to practice, so that's good. They need Le'Veon Bell back. I mean, they could still score points. Defense is an issue. The secondary, I mentioned it all offseason. The secondary is an issue. People kind of want to argue with me on that. It's an issue. So at the end of the year, I think they'll be a good team. But for now, I had to drop them down to 18. Good big game against the Buccaneers this week on Monday night. 17 is the Titans. I think they stayed the same. I was pretty high on them before the year started. Unfortunate week 1. Everyone got hurt. Delayed game. It was a weird game. And they win with their backup, so that's good. But still a big question mark. They won with Gabbert, lost with Mariota, even though he got hurt. So what's going to go on going forward? They're going to start Mariota if he's healthy. He needs to play better. So it's kind of a team we got to just sit in the middle here. We got to wait and see what they do. Their playmakers got to step up. Good win, though. I guess it was somewhat of an upset. On to the next 8 picks, and then we'll eventually get to the top 8 teams in Week 3 power rankings. Bears stayed the same at 16. Big-time win against the Seahawks. Their defense is looking legit. So they could have made their way up the board, but some of these teams staying 2-0 kind of just hopped them. I think the Seahawks were just really bad in that game. So I want to see I want to see more of the Bears against some better teams. But the defense definitely looks legit. Offense, they have 2 out of their 3 offensive touchdowns on the opening drive, the scripted drives. So we need to see more from their offense too. I thought the quarterback play in the Bears-Seahawks game was just terrible between Russell Wilson and Trubisky. Both were not good. Both could run very well, but Trubisky needs to play better. But he's young. He needs some time. Defense looks insane. Let's see if it stays that way. Broncos are 15. Maybe a little low for being 2-0. Maybe you want to see them higher. They're barely a 2-0. They very easily could be 0-2, but at the end of the day, they are 2-0. They have winning drives out of Keenum, but he hasn't really played good. I think their defense has played solid. Lindsey's played solid. They played the Seahawks and they played the Raiders, so I kind of want to see them play more. So they're going to stick around at 15 for now. I want to see more of them. I think Keenum playing like the way he is could cost him some games. Big game between the number 15 Broncos and number 21 Ravens this week. That's going to be a good one. 14's the Panthers. Still a good team. Cam Newton's still balling. They gave up a lot of points there. Worried about their secondary a little bit going forward. Worried about their offensive line. Cam still doesn't have the weapons he deserves. He's a heck of a player, MVP caliber player. But down at 14 for now after that loss. 13, the Chargers, still sticking around that same spot. They weren't super impressive. They played the Bills. They got a good win, but really didn't impress me that much. I kind of want to see more, but their roster is very good. I think they should be better than they are, but we need more time to be able to judge that. The Dolphins come up to 12. It was tough deciding where to put the Dolphins. They're 2-0. They look pretty good. They're not wowing in any category. They beat the Titans and the Jets, and going back to week 1, they it was a weird game. Titans got a lot of guys knocked out. A win's a win. They're 2-0, and then 12's pretty high. But it was a battle. I kind of want to put them around that 10-11 range at one point, but it's just really tough. That 10 through 12 is real close. So Dolphins are 2-0. They could be 3-0 after this week. I picked the Dolphins to win that against the Raiders. So we'll see. Maybe they'll climb up the board even more. So I got them at 12 for now. Saints are at 11. This was tough with the Saints, too. I might have had them dropping a spot for winning, honestly. It's mainly not them. Some of these other teams had to go up because, you can't really judge a team from being 1-0, but once they're 2-0, you got to move them up. That's the main reason they drop one spot, or maybe they stay the same. I can't quite remember. They're around the same spot. But they didn't really look good in their win either on top of it, and they played the Browns. They very easily could have lost that game. Defense needs to step it up. Latimer has not been impressive so far. I'm sure he'll figure it out. I'm sure the team will figure it out. The Saints tend to do this sometimes. So I'm not saying to panic about them or anything. Make that clear. I'm sure Saints fans know that. 11 still a pretty good ranking. 10, the Eagles, bad game against the Buccaneers, but they didn't have Wentz. Wentz is back, so that's a good thing. He could struggle at first. That wouldn't surprise me if he struggled a little bit at first. That secondary can't tackle. I mentioned that in the offseason. It's rough. They can cover pretty well at times, but, man, downfield tackling is a big-time issue. It showed in that game. It's showing that the lack of weapons on offense is kind of showing now, not having Alshon out there. Jay Ajayi can play. Some of those guys can play, but they can use another big-time player out there. 9 is the Bengals, undefeated Bengals 2-0. Very impressive team. Good team. I'm kind of waiting for the coaching to start blowing it like usual. That usually doesn't happen to the end of the season, closer to the end of the season. Good team. I like the Bengals. They move all the way up to 9. They play the Panthers this week in Carolina. If they win that game, they're going to shoot up these rankings, but they already did kind of shoot up to number 9. Very impressive from the Bengals. Now let's see the top 8. We got a new number 1. We got a new pretty much everywhere. Everyone's switched around. But yes, as you can see, I got the Jags at 1 over the Rams. We'll explain that in a little bit. The Falcons are at 8. That was more Falcons football, and they were missing some guys on defense. That kind of showed too a little bit. And then Kazi got ejected from the game. But that offense was more like it for the Falcons. That's the team that I was expecting. We'll see if they got that going forward. People were starting to doubt Matt Ryan. Way too early. Just week 1, playing in Philly against the former champs. It's tough to play. Tough to play in that. So the Falcons, I like their team. Let's see if they can execute. Packers 7. I believe they're staying around the same area here. As long as they got Rodgers, they're going to be up here. I think he needs some more talent around him. Jamal Williams actually looks pretty solid. He's a heck of a blocker out of the backfield. Very impressive against the Vikings, blocking, picking up Anthony Barr, picking up blitzes. That stood out after the fact to me after I went back and watched some more. Very impressive. They got a guy like Devontae Adams, big-time receiver. I think they could use more. Jimmy Graham started to come alive, but mainly on the defensive side. They played pretty well in the first half. It started to show in the second half that they can use some more. So, as long as they have Rodgers, they're up here, but that they could use, I think he needs some more help, mainly on the defensive side. Number 6 is the Patriots, and that defense that I kind of a little bit was worrying about kind of showed up against the Jags offense. Jags played out of their mind, though. So the Patriots defense and maybe the receiving unit, well, now they got Josh Gordon, but maybe that was a concern. Maybe running back too, Sony Michel's got to get going. It'll take some time. So they dropped to 6. Not a good performance from them. Brady yelling at people, McDaniels yelling at people. A little messy. They're going to rise back up towards the top. I mean, this is pretty much the top already, but we know they're going to get back up there as the season goes on. Number 5 is the Buccaneers, 2-0, very impressive. Fitzpatrick, just maybe the best player in football at the moment. He's him and Mahomes, I think, at the top there. They're impressive, and they got to play the Steelers on Monday night. I picked the Bucs. That's going to be a good one, though. I just want to see more of the Bucs. I'm still doubting their defense a little bit. I'm sorry to say, but I think you can understand why. The secondary has some issues, but love the offense. It's balling. Keep Fitzpatrick in there. Don't even think about putting Winston in there. They rise up big time all the way to number 5, and they beat the Saints and the Eagles. That's pretty impressive. You look at the other undefeated teams like the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Broncos. The reason there's a big gap between those and a team like the Buccaneers is because the Buccaneers beat the Saints and the Eagles, who I have at 10-11. So impressive. Well, let's see if it keeps going. Number 4 is the Chiefs. Maybe the best offense in football right now. Mahomes is looking legit. He has the weapons. He has the offensive line. He has the running back. The defense is a worry, though. That's why they can't be 1, 2, 3, I think. It's same with the Chiefs and the Bucs. I think highly of them, obviously. I put them at 4 and 5. Elite offenses right now, but the defenses... Mainly, the Chiefs only have 2 sacks right now, and that could catch up to them. As long as they score over 30 points, they're going to win the game, but that's really not a good thing to say. I know a Chiefs fan had actually mentioned that to me. It's like they're looking good, but they need to score over 35, I think what he said. So I think some Chiefs feel that way, but, most of them are pumped because the future looks good, and the offense is elite, the best in football right now, and I think it'll continue to be towards the top. So very impressive. Just like the question would be, would the defense hold up against the other elite teams or other good teams in front of them right here? The Vikings are at 3. They didn't win, but they don't have a loss. Sloppy first half out of the Vikings, but I think that the talent that they have really showed in the second half and the comeback. Things didn't go their way in the first, really, and they should have been out of the game for that reason, but they fight back because of the talent they have. That could be... you could make an argument that they shouldn't be as high as 3 because they have the talent and they're not 2-0. We need to see more, I guess. So I really think they're the most talented team, so that means they need to be number 1. So they may be taking a hit at them, actually. But, I think they're balanced all the way around. They can play offense at high level. We already know they can play defense at high level. So they moved down, I think, a spot from last week. But I still think they're very talented. Number 2 is the Rams. 1 and 2 could go either way. I had a hard time deciding this. The Rams probably look like the most dominant team right now, but here's the difference. The Rams play the Raiders and the Cardinals. The Jaguars played the Giants, who turns out they're not looking too good, but they just beat the Patriots, who I had at 1 last week, and the Jags' weakness was putting points up on offense. Bortles was outstanding. They didn't have Fournette. Keelan Cole was outstanding. Westbrook looked good. All the receivers looked good. Every stage of the game, the Jags got to be 1. I happened to see other power rankings that look like, for the most part, Rams were number 1 in most of them. I was kind of surprised. The fact of who they played and how they're playing, I got to have the Jags at 1. The Rams look dominant. They haven't really played much. They only have 2 sacks. Good defense, good pass coverage. Only 2 sacks. That needs to step up. Offense is obviously good. So it's the top 2 are separated themselves to me. They really separated themselves, and then 3 through 5 was pretty darn close. If the Vikings would have lost that game, obviously they would have been the Packers. Maybe the Packers would be in the 3 spot, and then the Vikings would be down in the 7, whatever range. So, they didn't lose, so I kept them up there because of the talent they have, and it kind of showed in the second half. But if you said the Chiefs were 3, the Bucs were 3, I really wouldn't argue with you. And then 6, 7, 8 was pretty darn tight too. Patriots through Bengals. The Bengals I like. Before the season I was talking about. I like their roster. I like them on paper. Will they choke at any time? I think that usually has to do with the coaching, the decision making. Looking good. If they beat the Panthers this week, wow, that's good. Even though they're higher than the Panthers already, they're in Carolina, a tough place to play, playing against Cam Newton. The Panthers are still, I think, known as the better team as the Bengals. Whether you like it or not. I don't know that maybe that's my opinion. I don't really think so though. So I did pick the Panthers in that one. If it was in Cincinnati, I would have picked Cincinnati. It was kind of like the tie goes to the home team for me. So it's a lot of good games this week, a lot of very good games. Can't wait. We will be back with the updated power rankings every single Wednesday. Not going to miss a single week. We got NFL prediction videos every Tuesday night. They get uploaded. They're a good time. Got a lot of Frogs Angels members on that, so check those out. We will have update. I know people were asking for it. We'll have updated records for our pickers. Who's leading most points, most correct pick games in the future videos. So I think that'll be cool. Yeah, plenty of stuff. College football pick'ems. We got Friday live streams. We recap each week on Mondays. I predict scores of each game. That should be tomorrow, which is usually on every Thursday. So we got a lot of stuff. We got you covered here. 10K subscriber goal. Please help us get there. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button, appreciate everyone who already subscribes to the channel. Thank you very much for that. And then clicking the like button will be much appreciated as well. But that'll do it for this one. Again, check out our other videos. Our prediction video for week 3 is already up. It's a good one. Check it out if you haven't already. If you already checked it out, I appreciate you. That'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.